Oh, hello. This is Reverend Bill, and tonight's Friday night, and I'm getting ready to watch the Celtics Wizard game tonight. I think it's like 7:30. Well, whatever. I mean, if I miss the first few minutes, not a big deal. Um, no, I kind of said when I first started this podcast that I would try to stay away from any too much religious leanings because obviously I wanted to talk about other things other than my religion. I didn't really think I wanted to turn this into a religious podcast, but I did say there was going to be exceptions, and hope you bear with me. This is going to be an exception just because I don't know if you guys have paid attention to what's going on in the world today, but it's very disturbing. Um, and I don't really believe in coincidences. I do believe, because of my past experiences with evil and witchcraft, and if you guys haven't seen that or understood my past, you can probably pick up a little from my prior broadcasts about witchcraft, which kind of touch on to a little bit. I didn't go very granular in it. If anyone, if I get enough people asking me to go more into detail about it, I can. But needless to say, that I'm absolutely convinced that that evil is a thing. It's not just a happening. It's a an entity. As Elon Musk said, by the way, on X last night, I was very impressed with him. He came out and he said, "Don't be fools. That evil is an entity, and it certainly is, and so is it's good. And the ultimate entity of good, of course, is Jesus Christ. But um, we're not. We can go into kind of a lighter thing. The point I'm trying to get to is just a couple of things that's going on in this world right now that just alarms me tremendously. Is that the former military commander in chief for Kiev, I guess for the Ukraine, said that World War III has officially begun, and that he said that the reason is, let's see. By the way, I'm going to be doing some quotes off the cuff here, just to make sure that I don't get accused of any plagiarism. I did take some quotes directly from the New York Post and I think Boston Herald. So let's be clear that if I do take any of the quotes, it would be from those two sources. Um, but he said, I believe that in 2024, we can absolutely believe that the Third World War has begun. And this is from Chief Valery Zalhu. I can't pronounce that name. I'm sorry. This was from Politico. Um, let's see. Along with the presence of North Korean and Iranian weapons on the frontiers, Zahuli, I'm sorry about that name, said his nation was besieged by international forces. So he needs to get his allies involved now because apparently North Korea and Iran are involved, and it's now becoming a global conflict. How far away are we from getting involved? Who knows? I would imagine, considering what great allies Israel are, it wouldn't be far fetched to say reasonably close. Um, on another note, Israel, uh, which has always stood as a a beacon of democracy and freedom, and I've been there, and they're surrounded. They're trying to be the West. They really are. You go there, you do not find women walking around with sheets on them. You actually find girls with thongs and looking very good. They love us. They want to be us. Um, they speak our language for the most part. They're very very. They're stuck in the Middle East, surrounded by the traditional, what you would think would be the Muslims, and the way they behave. But um, in Israel, they're very very much like us, and they're trying to spread democracy throughout the Middle East. So they are a very good ally of us. And like I said, I've been there. I've walked where Jesus walked, and it's a very impressive place. Um, So basically, the International Criminal Court, which is, well, what they say, it's supposed to be an international criminal court, which is not recognized by the United States, by the way, so therefore is not going to be recognized by Donald Trump. It has actually issued a warrant for the arrest of President Netanyahu and his assistant. I'm trying to think what his name is. So I see his name. Probably shouldn't look too hard because I probably couldn't pronounce it if I saw it. Although I can say Yahoo. Anyway, the point is they went over, the attack of October 7th, 2023, and the way that Hamas went there and did unimaginable acts of cruelty where they took hostages. They slaughtered 1,200 Israelis, including men, women, children, and infants. They beheaded infants. They took hostages. They raped the women. And all Israel did was want to tell them, you can't do this. And the Israeli army and Air Force are very formidable, and they've been held back by the Biden administration. And I don't know if it's got anything to do with it or not, but since Trump won, now the international court's coming out saying that there's warrants out for their arrest. Trying to think, okay, the warrant is against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former defense minister. They don't mention his name, though. Okay, so there you go. I mean, you get attacked. 1,200 of your civilians are butchered in the middle of the night. But your babies are slaughtered. Your children are slaughtered. Your women are raped and slaughtered. Then they take hostages, some of which they release when they're pregnant. I guess, you deal with it now. You're very religious. Now, what do you do when your daughter's returned, having a terrorist impregnate her? These are questions that now the Israelis have to deal with. And what happens? The International Court says that you're at fault, and they issue a warrant for your arrest. Wonderful. Okay, moving along. Another thing that just is ridiculous. Jussie Smollett, just when you think he wouldn't come back again, he rears his ugly head. Apparently, a court has decided that midnight deal, just to remind you, when he first got found out as being a fraud, that he staged the whole thing, and they found out, I think the two guys were Nigerian. I don't think they were African. I think they were Nigerian, the guys that beat him up, and they admitted that he paid them to. And it was, the cat was out of the bag. Michelle Obama called up Kim Foxx, who was the DA, and they did a midnight deal that basically covered it all up and gave Jussie Smollett, I don't know, whatever, minimal, maybe he had to do some kind of civil duty, something, and he wouldn't have to plead guilty, and it was all nice and all that kind of stuff. And then they got a special prosecutor who said, no, this doesn't hold up. And they broke the agreement, and then they exposed Jussie, and his career, of course, is ruined. Well, a judge this week decided that initial midnight deal between Michelle Obama, Kim Foxx, and Jussie Smollett actually could stand. So the subsequent penalties, which I think might have been 180 days of parole or something, I don't know what it was. It was something like that. It wasn't enough to incarcerate him for a long period of time, but it was enough to prove a point. And that is, you shouldn't spread hatred, especially the fact that, he did this as a way of spreading hate during Trump's administration. So, this whole thing that, I don't understand why people just can't relax. It all started with Obama, by the way. I think that this whole race thing was fine. I grew up, in an urban environment, very much interracial, and we got along great. I mean, if there was any jokes, there were, not taken seriously, just a bunch of guys goofing on each other, and growing up, I dated white, I dated black, I've married white, I've married black. It wasn't really a big deal. And then suddenly Obama comes in and he starts wagging his fingers at black people saying, you should vote for the brothers. And he just started it. And I think Biden continued it. And, there's no reason for people to be sitting around wondering if they should be sitting with the whites or the blacks. I mean, people just got to relax, getting a little bit off things. But yeah, I mean, and I think this whole thing with Jussie Smollett, I wouldn't be surprised if the Obamas were behind it. I mean, Michelle actually called up and got a deal for him. I think it was all to fuel the racism and the hatred, divide the country. I don't know anything. That's just my thought. So I tell you what, it just seems that that lately we go one step forward and two steps back when it comes to this thing. Anyway, whatever, let's go on. All right, what else do we have cooking up here? Oh, here's a good one, an oldie but a goodie. So in Massachusetts, there's a Democrat, Seth Moulton. I think he's in the House, if I'm not mistaken. And he actually was a rare thing. He's a Democrat who came out speaking the truth, and that is that the Democrats have lost their way. They are too wrapped up in things like transgender rights. They're forgetting the common man. And he said that this red wave that we've experienced and the Trump election that we've experienced was all because people, the common man, does not feel like he's represented at all. And he said, he's got a daughter, and he said, we've got to start talking practically. He's like, I don't want my daughter on a team where there's going to be a biological man running her over, because that's going to hurt her. And I don't want my daughter hurt. And we have to acknowledge this and have a conversation. And he said, no one's having a conversation. All they're doing is worried about what people will say and not about what is common sense. So the Democrats naturally want him to resign. They said what he's saying is absolutely weak, and they won't stand for it. I'm telling you, they're going to do it to themselves again. They took a poll. I know it's early, but they took a poll this week that who would they like to see run for president in 2028? They said Kamala by 41%. Number two was Newsom with 7%. So 41% doesn't sound like that much, but when you consider number two with 7%, the Democrats just aren't learning. They're doing it all over again. So I'm happy as a Republican. Keep it up. Yes, absolutely. Send Kamala against whomever. I'll send her against a shoe. She'll lose. The shoe will talk at least some sense. Anyway, so Seth Moulton is actually under heat now because he said that the Democrats have lost the common man. Okie doke. Also in the news, Governor Hochul has signed a bill to make it legal to commit adultery. Now, I'm sure they didn't arrest anyone for adultery in New York anyway. But why she would do this makes no sense to me, since, I've been through some divorces, so I kind of know about adultery in court. And I don't know any judge in a court case wants to hear about who's sleeping with whom. They don't care. Just the facts. So the very fact that she sits down and wastes the ink, maybe she was practicing her penmanship? I don't know. But there was no reason for her to do this except to put an exclamation point on the fact that having sex with people outside your marriage is okay. I don't know. Okay, now the next one is the mayor of Denver, who said that when Trump and his, I don't know who he's going to send down, whoever the deportation, people are, whether they're, ICE or whether they're National Guard or I don't know, whoever he sends down there, the Denver mayor says that he'll have to go through him, his entire police force, and all the what does he call them? Denverites? I think he called them Denverites, which I guess are citizens. Well, a couple of things. I really don't think all the Denverites, as he called them, really want to get in the way between the illegal immigrants and the federal national whatever guard or whatever forces they bring. Maybe the police have to be there because they're ordered by the mayor. What does he hope to gain? Well, first of all, okay, let's look at the obvious. If he's expecting some kind of standoff that people are going to write songs about and sing around campfires for years to come about the braveness of the mayor of whatever Denver, they're crazy. Trump's not nearly that dumb. Trump's just going to cut off the federal aid. What he's going to do, he's going to say, okay, no federal aid for you. He'll cut off everything. I mean, seriously, he'll wait them out. That's what I would do. You don't want to get any kind of gunfight at OK Corral, a face-off where, national, international TV watching to see who's going to draw their gun first. No, they're just going to cut off the funds. See how long that takes. Anyway, now another thing that happened. See, so many things. That's what I'm talking about. It's like just a bunch of weird things going on in the world. The Washington Post, which was at one time the standard by which all newspapers wanted to be. I don't know if you guys were old enough to remember the old Watergate scandal, but they were actually leading it. Bernstein and Woodard. And they broke it and they let it. And, everyone admired the Washington Post. And that was then, not now. What's happened now to all the main media is that they've been they've become propaganda machines, almost all of them for the left, ridiculously so. And, there's definitely some leanings to the right on a few. I think that New York Post is more fair than most, but it does definitely have a right leaning. I still read it, but I do kind of try to filter out the propaganda from the real news. But I guess last year or so, Jeff Bezos, I don't know if he's he's not the richest man. He's one of the richest men in the world, but he doesn't like losing money. And he got there and he bought the Washington Post and he tried to make it less woke and just losing money. And they're lining it up to have another layoff. And, the journalists there, they're sending off their resumes. But, I got to tell you, those resumes, there's nowhere for them to go because all the other newspapers are in similar situations. So they're getting, if they get even looked at anyway, they're getting lowballed. And I'll tell you why. Elon Musk pretty much says it better than I do. But it comes down to the fact that the podcasters, me and the like of me, are becoming the new main media. I don't know if you like me or don't like me, but I can tell you there's every effort that I have to present things as fairly as I can. I don't have a hidden agenda. I don't have anyone whispering in my ear, telling me to make something better or worse than I think it is. I pretty much tell it the way that I see it. Um, I'm not always right. I'm sure I'm wrong sometimes, but I don't have any agendas. And I think a lot of the people out there are the same way. I don't do a lot of movie reviews. I probably should do more, mostly because I don't really like anything that's playing right now in the theaters. But I mean, if you get a review from me, you're going to get an honest review. You're not going to get something me saying that the movie's awesome when it's terrible just because I get a little gift pack from the production studios with fruit and whatever else in there. I mean, I don't get anything. So yeah, I mean, I think there's no room for the main media anymore because no one believes them. It's the little guy, again, like me, that just comes up here and does it because they want to do it. Hell, I don't get paid for this. I just do it because I think it's fun. Nobody sends me to make stuff up. Anyway, let's get back on track here. Yeah, so essentially the point I'm trying to get to is, as Elon Musk said yesterday, and this is going to get kind of religious, evil is an entity. And, as I told you, I have not seen Jesus. I've seen the effects of Jesus. I have seen a lot of evil. I have seen ghosts. I've seen witches and warlock and wizards and a lot of other things I don't think you guys really want to hear about them. But the fact is these are tangible things. Okay. I hear them, I see them. And, just so you know, I'm not losing my mind. One day, they used to do things in the house and I used to tell my wife, and I think she did her best to believe me because, she's African. She understands most of this, but it's a stretch when you hear about certain things. But something weird happened, I guess, where the witches decided that they would fool around, make things happen in the house. And I don't know why, but they didn't realize it wasn't me. They I guess made a mistake and thought that my wife was me, and they did it to her. And when I came home, she's like, "You're not kidding. What you said happens." And I said, "Oh, I know." I said, "No, they must have thought you were me." And from then on, I mean, that's when things turned around, and she got me the priests from Africa that understand this stuff. And through the grace of God and prayers, I was able to battle them successfully. And, it's been pretty quiet for the last couple of months. I don't think the battle's over. I don't think the battle will be over until either them or myself are dead spiritually. I don't mean physically. I mean, it's a spiritual battle, with prayers and all that kind of verses there. Spells. Yeah, I mean, so I'm absolutely convinced they're going to come back. My point I'm trying to get to is that there definitely is a Jesus, because that's when the turning point was, where I stopped being a victim and I became a warrior, was when I was taught how to be a warrior with Christ. So I don't necessarily need to see Jesus or talk to him, but I do know that he's there, because when I started to do the right prayers and I started to ask for his help, I got tremendous results. And that's when I stopped being a victim and I started to get the upper hand. And they've been pretty much quiet ever since. And I'm waiting for them to come back. If they ever want to come back, I'm sure they will. So that's kind of what I'm saying. And I just sense there's a lot of evil in this world. And I think sitting back and just allowing it to happen and see what's going to happen next is probably not the right way to do it. If we could all just recognize that there is help, and it is in the way of Jesus Christ, and look to him as our Savior and pray, we can move mountains. We really can. Anyway, that's pretty much all I needed to say today. Hope I didn't bore you too much. And I get a Celtics game to watch. So I hope you all guys have a great night tonight, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.